All right. Um, so I'd like to talk a little bit about the Upanishads, which I've been reading recently, the Ethnoc Easwaran trans, uh, translation. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Well, I don't know how to pronounce a lot of things in this book, including the Upanishads themselves. It might be Upanishads, as my uh, I think he was from Delhi, but I had an Uber driver that I talked to about this, and I think he pronounced it Upanishads, but I'm going to say Upanishad because I don't know, and that's just how I've been pronouncing them. Anyway, so I've been reading the Upanishads. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and also smoke some weed at the same time. Yeah, so let's get started. Um, so far I've read four Upanishads. The Isha Upanishad, the Katha Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and the Chandogya Upanishad. Um, so far, I think my favorite has been the Brihadaranyaka, um, but I think in this video, I'm going to focus on the Isha, which was actually, out of those four, the Isha might be my least favorite, just because it's the shortest and it's very like a verse structure, whereas the other ones are more of like a prose story. Um, yeah, and that just does it for me a little bit better. But in the Isha Upanishad, there's something really interesting. Uh, there's one verse that I really like about the sun, um, and it's essentially this one verse in the Upanishad. It's like a little poem about the sun in and of itself, and I really connected to this verse. Um, I'm going to read it in a second after I smoke this bowl. But basically, it's talking about the sun being like a sort of source kind of idea, like in the same way that you would consider Brahman or the supreme self, uh, in which obviously the Isha Upanishad and all the Upanishads are about Brahman and the supreme self. But it kind of uses the sun as like a metaphor for that, I think. I'm going to include some of my own interpretation too. I haven't looked any of this up, but I just read this poem and really liked it. Um, but yeah, so basically, I think it's making an analogy between the Isha, or I mean, between the uh, concept of Brahman and the sun itself. And the author is venerating, this Upanishad is sort of venerating the sun, but at the same time requesting that the sun dispel its form of a golden orb to be simply itself, to be the self, and to be the progenitor of life and existence, basically. All right, let's go ahead on this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read this verse about the sun from the Isha Upanishad. I have it marked in here somewhere. The Isha Upanishad. Oh no, that's the Katha. Isha. Here we go. Okay. The face of truth is hidden by your orb of gold, O sun. May you remove your orb so that I, who adore the true, may see the glory of truth. O nourishing sun, solitary traveler, controller, source of all life, source of life for all creatures, spread your light and subdue your dazzling splendor, so that I may see your blessed self, even that very self am I. Um, so I think this is pretty clear that uh, this Upanishad is venerating the sun, like it says, as the source of life for all creatures. Um, so it's venerating the sun, but at the same time, it's venerating the sun in like a anthropomorphizing way, where the speaker is speaking directly to the sun, requesting that it remove its physical form, it remove its orb of gold. May you remove your orb so that I, who adore the true, may see the glory of truth. So, um, the sun basically is Brahman here, and uh, I think that basically covers like the direct interpretation of the verse. But I think that this is really interesting because I've connected it to some of my own thoughts that I've had. Um, I really like the sun, personally. I really like sunny days and hot weather. And I kind of see the sun as a like uniquely positive icon in my mind. I see it in the way that this verse is describing as like this source of life and warmth and splendor, and it illuminates the world and like shines the glory of truth, as this poem says, onto the world. But what's really interesting is that in truth, you don't need the sun for that. The world is already there, whether it's illuminated by daylight or not. The world simply is. And likewise, you don't need the body of the sun, the physical form, the orb of gold. You don't need that for existence to be there. Like the meaningful part about the sun and about all of existence is not its physical form, but the underlying reality that connects us all. And that's what I think um, the central point of the Upanishads is. Obviously, is like, hey, did you know uh, all is one and one is all? Brahman, ever heard of it? Atman. um, but yeah, it's like the sun is amazing and it illuminates reality. But what's really amazing is the reality that the sun illuminates and is itself part of, and that I am part of, and that we are all part of. Isha Upanishad. I love it.